Hello, Kevin. This is Matt Falvey.
Oh, how you doing, man?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
Pretty good. Just laying back here, everything's going pretty good. We've got that pandemic, as you know, and we're not playing a lot, but we're doing quite a bit of recording. I got my own studio, so trying to put a lot of time into that and do something useful.
Yeah, definitely a lot more studio time is available. So you've got this great song, Call a Friend, out now, and you're working on a duets album at the time?
Yeah, I sort of write. I work with a three-piece band. That's been my thing, and it's mostly sort of rock and blues and funk and a lot of songs come out, and it doesn't really suit what I do. But so I decided to get rid of those ones that were starting to brew or have hung around for a while, but you never finish them. And I thought, well, I'll do a duets album so I can get people in, make it, and build up the recording with more instrumentation and try and do the song justice as you usually, do with not just a three-piece thing. And yeah, it's been going good. There's a guy called Russell Morris here who's had a big hit called The Real Thing, and he's been a friend of mine for a long time. He lives in Melbourne, and we sort of pass, get to see each other when we're doing festivals and stuff. And I thought I'd put it to him, and he said, "Sure, I'll do it." So we're sort of singing tag team now. If you notice, I sing a line, he sings a line, and then we take a chorus here and there. And the song has been. I was. It came about by sort of going, well, I'm going to ring these people up and try and get them to work with me. How am I going to do it? And then, and it started there, but the song kind of grew in its meaning because lots of things that happen, for people who are suffering and mental problems and they need a call to get them straight, or, returned servicemen having trouble assimilating back into society and having a hard time, which is, as you know, happens a lot. So it kind of grew in meaning.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have a line in the song, it's so easy to tap and send, but how do you find that difference between sort of how technology is taken over so much of communication compared to the difference of calling somebody on the phone?
Yeah, well, a lot of new things happen in the technology and stuff that you think is much better. It's quicker. It's starting to be revealed now that the human quality of contact through talking and actually spending time together, sort of swapping conversation is a much better way to convey, and because you don't know what's going to happen, you're not writing sort of a sentence or something. It's more of an accidental sort of thing. The conversation can go anywhere, and you can hear the emotion in someone's voice, which tells a story, but you only get it through the meaning of the words when you're doing the tap and send sort of thing. So really calling is what humans are really more about, but of course we use the other things to do business and stuff, but when it comes down to the emotional side of things, I think a call means a lot more.
Especially over this whole pandemic, I've seen friends maybe write some things on social media that I might not necessarily agree with, and you wonder where they're coming from. But then when you talk to them in person, you realize you still have all those great things in common.
Yeah, well, it's like a game of tennis or something. The subject's the ball, and you hit it backwards and forth back to each other, and you get more out of the topic or the problem or whatever your subject that you're talking about, because someone comes up with a different tack.
Absolutely. And then there's some people that just like to hit the ball way out of the court.
Yeah, you can have an argument.
One thing I wanted to ask about is that you have a lyric in here, what do you say to break the ice? And then in the bridge, you say, yes, I love you. And I'm wondering if you ever experience, maybe with men more likely, where they find it difficult to reach out to friends and to tell someone that they miss them because they think of it as not being masculine enough.
Yeah, well, I mean, that comes especially from as we evolve as a race. Like, back in the day, like the men would never be at the birth. The children was to be seen and not heard.
Right.
You know, and sort of over the evolving times, the men have sort of become, I guess I'd say, more feminine, but actually getting to understand life and not having to be so macho in the sense, because if you just you get to feel more, and as far as the growing of children and looking after them more, which was unheard of and sort of my father's day, really, So I guess we've come a long way in that way, which I think is a good thing, because you get to know what the women have to go through, being there at the birth, actually seeing that. So, I mean, wow, So it's a wonderful thing, but you sort of, you go, well, I'm glad it's not me.
And you have recorded with your son, is that correct?
Yeah, he's my eldest son, and he's a brilliant drummer, and we've done a DVD together called Borich times Borich, and then my friend of mine, Harry Bruce, was playing bass at the time, so it's actually a double CD and DVD if wanted. I've got a website which is www.kevinborich.com.au if people want to go in and see my wares. There's a shop on there, which is a great thing these days, about technology, saying one of the good things is that we can keep in contact with our fans without having to go through a multi-corporate company or something like that. So you've always got your door open there if people are willing to check out and see what you're about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great when you can cut out the middleman that way. You had mentioned how normally you play with a 3-piece format, and then this album has allowed you to try to branch out and use those songs that wouldn't fit into 3-piece. Do you find any difference in the creative process when it's for 3-piece or a different lineup?
Yeah, well, we usually start with a 3-piece thing. Well, right now, because we've been locked down, I've just been doing it. I've got a friend up the road who's sort of like, he's a musician, but he's not in my band, but he's turned into be my producer because he's so good with the technology and computers, and I'm hopeless, Mm-hmm. So I've got all the gear, but I'm lucky to have this guy down there. So we just the last couple of songs we did just using. I played the bass as well, and program one song. And these days you can do so much with it to make it like real. He played drums on one of the tracks, which is called The Fires, which is about, we had going through the big fire thing here down in Australia. Of course, you're going through it right now, actually, on the West Coast there. And, so I've got a friend who helps me when I go to Canberra. When I'm working down there, he'd come, and he's a farmer down there. He comes to gigs and help me lug the gear and sell some of my mercho and stuff. And he got devastated, and his farm got burnt, his tractors, his sheds and everything. So he was telling me about it, and he was pretty down and about it. And I was trying to just keep contact with him and keep him on the straight so he doesn't get too depressed, because I know what it's like when all the work you've done on your property and something happens. I mean, it hasn't happened to me, but I can imagine, because you put so much into it, and it's also it's devastated. So he told me about the emotional side of that, and some of the things he was saying sparked the idea for a song. And I thought, well, I'm going to pretend, and because I've heard it firsthand from him, that I've been fighting the fires, and of course we've got drought here as well.
Right.
It's people who work the land. I tell you, it's pretty tough. We've just been getting more into growing our own thing because we're on some acres and we've got some vegetable things. I just grew this monstrous beetroot, man. It looks like an island. I'm going to call it, but I'm going to put it on my Instagram. So, and it was my first proper carrots because we had the time to do it instead of being behind the wheel doing gigs. I grew up on an orchard in New Zealand. I saw my father and mother that were migrants from Dalmatia, which is Croatia, in the coastline of Croatia, and they worked there. They had no money. They started with 20 acres, 10 acres it was, and built it up over time into a really good thing. And I can see one day what Dad was cursing and swearing and carrying on about the government, and they used to be able to sell their fruit to anybody, but then the law came in that they had to go through the Apple Pear marketing board, right?
Oh.
So you got a bureaucracy taking a cut,
Right.
So, and so that's the start of the thing. So I don't know where I was going there, but that sort of brought the attention to go when you're doing something, and with our music now, what was the way it is, I think every time that song, maybe I get 0.04% from Spotify or one of those things, which means you'd have to sell a million to,
Right.
It's kind of a rip-off thing. So it's that's why we really appreciate people actually buying our stuff at gigs, which I do. I take my mini shop in a couple of bags, and of course we've got the online store. So we get what it's worth then, more so than what you have to sell multi-millions to make money out of this, the way they've got to set it up now, which I think is bureaucracy and not a good thing for us.
No, you could tell there was going to be a problem with Spotify when Taylor Swift, one of the most popular musicians in the world at the time, and probably still is in terms of how many people are listening to her music, when she had pulled her stuff from Spotify. So if she's not getting a good deal and she's not profiting from it, there's got to be a pretty big problem.
I reckon, because boy, she's selling so much. I mean, it would be enough to keep her going. But someone like myself and people like me, it doesn't help really. But that's what they've designed, and we have to. There's not much we can do about it. You can sort of not do it, I suppose. But we want to play and do what we're here, to do. So we just we don't like it. I think a few bands have like Metallica or people like that have really sort of arced up about it and stuff, but nothing's really has changed.
Well, it's similar to what you were mentioning about technology earlier, where it keeps growing and allows us to have more convenience, but eventually you hit a point where it comes at a cost.
That's true. But I think the idea has changed now. Even things like, we used to have an album, so you'd look at the cover of the album and it was a big piece of art and was all something, and now even that's gone. Kind of. It's a strange thing, but I guess you can. I wouldn't like to be albums around; they'd be getting warped in the sun. And the other good thing about the technology and what we've got now, I've got a studio downstairs in my bunker. It's got stuff that you can put out. Nick, my producer, really knows how to work that stuff, and we get really really good sounds, as you can probably heard on the record.
Yeah, so that was all recorded in your bunker, the Call a Friend.
Yeah, down in the bunker.
Wow, it sounds fantastic. Very, very lush, a lot of clarity. I mean, you have so many layers going on, but you can hear everything just beautifully, and the production is top notch. Yeah,
well, see, I mean, I used to, like the three piece of the blues, the rock, and people like Johnny Winter. And you listen to Johnny album like Still Alive and Well, fantastic. But they're just playing in the studio, three-piece, and it's raw and it's down there and it's great and it's totally honest, the way I'm doing my songs and these tracks is now is trying to just give more to the song and the instrumentation, which is okay because I'm sort of saying do the song justice, If you can get through with a three-piece thing, great, These songs lend themselves more to more instrumentation and to get a great result, sonically.
I was taking a gander through your lengthy career, 52 years, and it's amazing, like the different styles you've gone through while still kind of retaining your signature sound.
Yeah, well, see, being down under here, like New Zealand, Australia, I heard about the blues through basically the English guys, because they were doing it, and then the champion, the John Lee Hookers and the BB Kings and everybody. So, and of course, then you'd been down here, you'd get your influences from America and from England. So, you got a good cross section of influences, straight away, just simply because of where we are and what used to come down through the airwaves, and of course I used to listen to the BBC, and they would have live. I think that's where I first heard Jimi Hendrix playing live on the BBC. I can't remember the name of the show actually, but we'd be all hanging around the radio, listening to that. And then of course my parents could see me and my sister getting into music. She didn't carry on, but I did. And then they bought they had a turntable, it had a radio, and it had a big tape machine. So we used to tape. I used to tape the music. And of course, now that those days, on my first band was the La Di Da's, so we used to record stuff that hadn't even been released out here. It was to the live band, so we were sort of on top of the curve, if you know what I mean.
Wow.
What was going on in those times. So it was really, really good. And of course, I used to use that to learn things. So I learned the gypsy way by just listening, really. I didn't study music or anything because it's too much like school. I just wanted to play. So you'd just record some things and you could just replay them to get to know them. And it was one good thing about learning by ears. You're actually training your ear at the same time instead of reading notes,
I'm sure because as you're learning, and it's always sort of a gradual uphill, and every time you reach the next plateau, you see how much higher you go. Did you ever have a moment where you realize, I'm pretty good at this guitar thing?
Well, you can come to that point, but boy, something happens, like you either see or hear something, and you just go, "What were you thinking?" It's like you're right up yourself, But that sort of thing is. It's like I got voted to be in the 70s like the best guitarist in Australia, which was total bullshit because I saw so many guys that were great. It was just my management, and there was I could dig the idea that I'm a popular guy because what we were doing, it became popular, and it was in a rock journal sort of paper sort of thing that was putting on this thing, and actually got when it came time to get the sort of pro trophy, which is like a flying V sort of thing on a board that looks like you won a race or something, and I was supposed to be up there to get it, and I was so thinking about this. I'm not the best at it, There's plenty of great guys that deserve it, So I didn't go into the venue where they were doing it, which was the Horton Pavilion in Sydney, and it was about I think it takes about 5,000 or 6,000 people, and I was waited at the stage door outside to when I could. And the guy was telling me, "Oh yeah, they're announcing you now," and I waited, and then my manager had to go and get the trophy and then I was supposed to play a song. So then I went in and got up and did the song, but I refused to actually accept it.
Wow, how I would imagine that would be pretty self-conscious when you're up there and they're saying, "Here he is, the greatest guitarist in Australia."
It's not the Olympic Games, but I sort of would take it that I was popular at the time, put it that way, because we were working our bums off and had a couple of records played on the radio, not a lot, but they had such a massive live scene here, Mike. It was fantastic. It started off at speakeasy kind of thing, where there were clubs, and then the Australian pub scene hit big, and there were each hotel had most of them had a stage and a PA system, and you were working 5 nights a week. It was so really great for musos to learn in front of the audience, and get out there and get a following. And it was the thing, it was before DVD, before other things happened. No internet. It was, no mobile phones. You used to make arrangements. Remember that? I'll meet you so and so. And that's what you do. And sort of, then you had the VHS tapes and stuff that came in, and gradually the live scene sort of seemed to go down. And now it's you've got noise problems, and the bureaucracy of having a venue is pretty tough to get all the red tape out the road, so you're not disturbing somebody. But there'd be a hotel that used to play in, and then they stopped that hotel because there's a high rise going next door, and there's too much noise and too much fun going on. Well, I was lucky to come through that time where the live music was easy to get going.
This is kind of the push that live entertainment needed? Do you think that in a way it was already struggling, at least on a lower to mid level, and this is going to help people try to find the next way to do it, maybe go more underground? Or do you think it'll bounce back and be sort of business as usual?
Well, business as usual is not good enough for me. I think people are going to start having venues at different places. That's away in an industrial area, so it's not so. I think that might happen, and like you say, underground. That's the way of the future. But I think it depends if people are going to turn up, and I mean, a lot of people love live music, thankfully, and there was, but I think it's always harder to go somewhere now. There's fines for this, that, and so some people are going, why should I go out? I've got the big ass TV in front of me, and I can see the world.
Absolutely.
It's kind of battling against it, and it makes it tougher. So, but there's nothing like being in an audience and being on stage playing to an audience, and actually seeing musicians play live. I think it'll never die. It's just that it wasn't. And of course, now that this pandemic and the rules have come in, it's like Orwell's, the 1980 movie, set in the future, whereby we've all got numbers on it, and it's impersonal and it's overgoverned and stuff like that. But we're trying to fight for our freedoms,
I wanted to ask you some more sort of nerdy questions about guitar. What's your current sort of guitar rig that you are playing through nowadays?
Well, we grew up when men were men. We had stacks of Marshalls,
right? Yeah.
And God, but I suppose in those days, really, that was what we just saw that happening, and so that's what you do. You have a double stack of 100-watt Marshalls, and you go for it, and it's a lot of fun because you're much younger than to cart it all around.
Right.
You got drums and vocals, and the guitars are coming off stage, so it's not a balanced situation. These days, I've gone down to like 60-watt amps. I use 2, so I get a bit of stereo thing. At the moment, I'm turning my amp sideways, not out to the front, but up at me, so I'm getting my trousers blown off. And I usually use 4 guitars. We do 2 sets on a full night if we're playing a whole night, which I like doing because it means that. I've got an old National guitar that like a steel one, like
resonator,
a resonator, So I just love that song, that sound, but I've been writing my own stuff on it. I love Johnny Winter. That's when I first heard that thing. I used to go around. There wasn't any here, but I found a guy in Melbourne that had one. It was a folkie, played folk music, and every time I went down there, I'd go around and he'd let me play it. And then I got the call from a guy that said, "Hey, that guitar's for sale." And I said, "Oh, why is he selling it?" He said, "Oh, he got killed."
Oh.
And I'm going, "Oh, no." So I actually managed to get it. It's a 1930 guitar. So,
wow.
When John Hamm's, that great American blues boy, was took it to him once when he was performing at the Basement. And he said, "Oh, that's worth, this is like over 25 years ago, so it's about $10,000 worth, for those who are into it." So
wow,
it's a beautiful sounding thing. So we do a whole set on that for an hour, and then we have a break, and then we're doing like a 90-minute or 2 hours, or with a 3-piece electric where I use Stratocasters, Firebird, Gibsons, and a Les Paul Gibson. So different tunings on those 2 other guitars, the Strats usually in normal tuning, except for a step down. I went to step down because I went through cancer, and I just thought that I was pushing it too hard. I've got a low voice anyway, so I thought it'd be better to tune it down a bit, so you get a fatter sound. So a lot of guys do that too.
Well, you had mentioned that you were a cancer survivor. Do you remember the first show you played after going through that?
Yeah, I did too. We had a band here called The Angels, and I played a support with them. I was to do like a short 40 minutes, and of course I'd just been through chemo and radiation, so I managed to get through, and that sort of sort of, because chemo kills all your cells. So what they do is much like my father used to, if it was a sick, on the orchard, if it was a sick tree, he would cut it right back,
Mm-hmm.
and then hopefully give it a chance to sprout back with some new growth. And it was the same thing with chemo. They kill all your cells, and they just stop you giving it to you before you probably keel over, and then it's almost like go away and grow back, And your cells grow back, but the cancer cells don't. See, so I'm saying, hang on, they can land something on Pluto, and they can't get to a cell. Come on, what's going on?
Going downtown. I'm going downtown, I'm gonna find me some love. I'm gonna find me some love.
I sort of write what comes out, Sometimes it'll, I've got on my records there's one song called Tango Queen, which is a really Latin sort of a thing. I've got, reggae, a couple of reggae songs here and there. So whatever sort of decides to come out through my, you always usually start with a meaning or sort of something to write lyrics about, but mainly it's noodling on the guitar that spawns something, a germ that will stick with you for a while. And what the hell am I going to do with this, because it's something you think, well,
Right.
I haven't heard this before, but it could work, and those noodles turn into soup. You get the right ingredient. You've got the good part of the noodle, but you've got to go somewhere else. You got to go. You got to make more of a meal out of it.
Do you find finishing songs to be difficult?
It can be, and that's what's good about doing this album, this duets album, because I'm not a good piano player, but we used to have a piano, and when I was down in Sydney years ago, and I'd get in. I love Ray Charles, right? So I pretend I was Ray Charles and try and play some of Ray's licks, Anyway, what comes out of that is going to be a song on the. It's taken that long to finish it, because I would never play piano in front of people; it'd be too embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
But the songs come out, and then once you play it over and over and over, you get to play it cool, and then of course we're recording it. It's like a gospel of Ray Charles. It's meant for Ray Charles, really, and Ray left the planet too early, right? What to do? Yeah, so it's that's sort of turned into like a gospel thing. So you'll be hearing that. I'll have to get it to you when it's released. But see, this pandemic kind of ruined everything, because I was going to release a song every 2 or 3 months, give each song a bit of time for everyone to digest, and then another one and another one. But then this lockdown pandemic thing comes, and it's kind of like everyone's going, what? So it's kind of created too many tidal waves, vibe-wise, to stop people from sort of enjoying music. Really, we'll start releasing other ones. I've got about 5 already done.
Is it a pretty big variety on the other ones that are in the can right now?
I'm not going to tell you who's on them, because some of them are names that you'll know, and because why should I use all my ammunition now, Mike?
That's right. Keep it a surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
Is the musical styles quite different?
The piano ones are kind of stuff, but still, you got me playing some guitar bits in them as well. But it's not blues or rock. It's kind of like it's kind of like Call a Friend in a way. It's I guess they're kind of more commercial than what I usually do.
Oh, interesting. Was there anything that felt bringing you in that direction, a more commercial direction?
Well, what comes out is the direction.
Right.
It's the luck of the draw or whatever comes out, and then of course you're going to say, well, is that one good for this time? Does it follow the other one in a certain way? That maybe. But I'm not so worried about that really, because we did a lot of strategic thinking years ago that didn't work.
Right.
So just go with your fly and you'll see the pants and what's coming out, and then hopefully fate will do its trick and people will enjoy. played on stage with Carlos, got me up to play in front of 60,000 people in Melbourne at one big concert that we did a support to the show. It was the main act was Fleetwood Mac, and Carlos was on in the afternoon playing that wonderful music, and he must have heard me before playing, and his roadie come and grabbed me. Next minute I'm on stage with Carlos.
So that was the whole lead up? You had no idea you were going to go on stage?
No, I had no idea until this guy comes up. He wants you out there. He wants you out there, man.
Wow.
I mean, that's great playing in front of a big crowd. And of course, our local crowd went nuts because he was, he was honouring a local guy, So that was a good thing. I played with Joe Walsh. He's actually stayed at my place here, and he's done gigs with me a few times, and been able to support and play with quite a few well-known people. Richie Blackmore, had a jam with him from the Purple years ago. So yeah, I've been in the right place, right time, a few times. So that's cool, and still rocking on.
Are there any people that you've played with that maybe you had some preconceived notions of that surprised you in some way?
Well, Joe surprised me. Joe Walsh, when after doing a rehearsal, I get a call, and he goes, "Hey, man, Joe here. You got a couch?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, sure, Joe. But why, man?" He said, "Man, can I come and stay on your couch, man?" I said, "Sure." So Joe stayed on the couch, and obviously, instead of just getting to know another hotel wall, he got to sort of interact with the locals, and we've been sort of friends over the time. When he comes out, we usually get to see him and the band play. So, and he came out and played on a farm in a cowshed with me once, at the back of Pâtreron, which is out in the sticks here.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little private festival, 500 people, and Joe came out with Smokey, his roadie, and they didn't know what they were getting themselves into, for sure, but they loved it.
Wow, it's amazing. I mean, he can obviously stay at any hotel he wants, but he still craves crashing on a couch with a musician.
Yeah, well, he's only. I think I was in a band called the Party Boys too, and he just first met him, and we had a long drive once, and the only time he ever said, "Nah, I'm too rich to do that. I'll fly." So such an honest and laid back guy. He's so great. Yeah, but then he came up where I live now, because I moved from Bondi and Sydney up to the sticks here. We got acres, and we're 2 hours north of Brisbane, further up in the hills. And he stayed downstairs, and he had to fly from. He was doing the Stratocaster 50 years, Fender Stratocaster 50 years concert in London, and he flew out after that to rehearse with me at our place here. So I blacked out all the windows like Elvis, so he could have like 48 hours of sleep. It was great, yeah. And then we did that little festival, and then of course a week or two later he joined the Eagles and did the big tour. Yeah, he likes getting down with the locals anyway. Yeah.
Well, I guess you missed that when doing Life in the Fast Lane.
Yeah, that was the shock, and a wonderful way of meeting someone and spending a lot more time with them instead of just being backstage and at the after party or something, So he's a wonderful guy. He's got a radio show over there now, I hear.
What did you make him for breakfast when he stayed on your couch?
Oh, we usually do the poached eggs, a bit of salad and all that sort of stuff. That's what I usually do. Going through the cancer now and having been hit with some radiation and chemo, I'm on a sort of very health thing. I do yoga. I've got my wife's wonderful. She's a yoga and meditation teacher, so I was so lucky to meet her, and I practice meditation and yoga. So if you don't use it, you lose it, kind of thing. And you're just stretching. It's not a religion, but it's more of a thing for your body to move it, and so you don't get stiffened up. Like especially if you've got an occupation whereby you're in one spot all the time. So you got to move that body, and otherwise you grow into strange shapes.
Well, this has been fantastic, Kevin. A real pleasure to talk to you, and really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, and because getting to talk to the people on the other top side of the world is wonderful. If they're interested in my music, of course, I'll do just go to that kevinborich.com.au and you can hear some stuff there. Or I've got a Facebook and all that sort of thing. I don't do it on. Basically, I'm on that stuff to sort of try and get people to my gigs when we are playing, as promotional thing. But actually, I think I'm on Facebook doing Down in the Bunker, playing a song called Down in the Bunker.
Okay.
got some really good words about the Chinese flu, and I rewrote the song a bit. Yeah, it's just me playing, stomping my foot, the old style and one guitar kind of thing. Pretty honest, pretty bad, but pretty good.
See, I'd seen a radio interview you did, just stomping and that, and your voice just on somebody's phone camera, and it sounded fantastic.
Yeah, it's very tribal back there. So one thing I did do at a concert once down in Tasmania when all the power went out, and I just went into the pub and I put a chair down and I stomped my foot on the floor, and thankfully it was some woods, not a concrete slab. And I had a John Bonham drum sound. It was really great.
Wow.
And of course, no PA, so I was yelling my head off and fell after about 5 or 6 songs, fell in a heap, and they loved it.
All right. Well, if licks could kill, he'd be doing hard time. Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, Mike. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.